You take out your pencils and write. You take out your pencils and write. Forget about the way it used to be. Forget about the way it used to be. Forget about the way it used to be. You take out your pencils and write. You take out your pencils and write. Forget about the way it used to be. Forget about the way it used to be. Take out. You take out your pencils and write. You take out your pen. You take out your pen. You take out your pencils and write. You take out. Forget about the way it used to be. You take out your pencils and write. Forget about the way it used to be. You take out your pencils and write.
grid down on the land, divided streets up row by row, shaped the squares with careful hands, placed avenues and parks just so. We sat in rooms with Welcome to Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday. And here we are. So excited to see you. We're going to get started in just a minute. Make sure we're live on all of our platforms. We are live on Instagram and we are live on Facebook. And tonight we are even live on YouTube. We'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. Let's go ahead and get things started. Try that one more time, folks. Here we go. Well, chilly wind is blowing like a breath of fresh air. The leaves are on the ground. And flannel like flowers popping up everywhere across this Brooklyn town. When autumn in New York is on the radio, morning DJ tells me it's okay. When autumn in New York is on the radio, well, it's then I know I'm headed for December's darkest day. They got that pumpkin spice in every drink, espresso and chai tea. And my barista needs to see his shrink, 'cause he's suffering from OCD. And autumn in New York is on the radio. Old Chet Baker tells me it's okay. When autumn in New York is on the radio, well, it's then I know I'm headed for December's darkest day. And I love December, the joy and mirth it brings. I love December, the songs the children sing. I love December and all its wintry charms. I love December when you're back here in my arms. Yeah. My smile grows longer as the days grow short and we fade closer to black. 'Cause every summer you just kinda disappear, but in the winter you come back. And autumn in New York is on the radio. Autumn in New York's on WBGO. Autumn in New York. everybody. Welcome to Autumn in New York, which I did indeed hear on the radio today. Not on WBGO, but I did hear Autumn in New York on the radio today. And I'm so excited to have you all here in this Autumn in New York, right here on my weekly live stream. How y'all doing? We've got some really exciting news. Not only, oh, look at that, it's falling down. We're low rent over here. We've got some really exciting news here, not only about what's going on tonight and this week, but what's going on going forward. For those of you who've been following along with this kind of humble little thing that I've been doing since the beginning of August, the viewership has grown, the influence has grown. A lot of people have written to me asking to be on the show. And now I'm happy to say that I am booked clear through the end of 2020. I have fantastic guests lined up for you almost every single week between now and the end of this calendar year. So if you enjoy what you've been seeing thus far, please continue to tune in on Tuesday nights because we will be here. And by we, I mean me and whoever my guest is. We have all sorts of people coming on between now and then. I'm going to take a couple of weeks and go solo. Next week is going to be election night, and I'm going to do us all a favor. And since most of you will have voted, it'll be 9 p.m. on the East at that point, I'm going to go ahead and do a politics and election-free show for the evening. I'm not going to talk about any wide-ranging issues. Instead, maybe I'll just distract us for the night. No special guests. Everybody I asked to come on next week was like, yo, I'm just going to be too stressed about election night to come on to your show. And I said, you know what? I respect that. And so we'll pick up with guests again 2 weeks from now, and we'll have them straight on through the end of the year. Maybe I'll take another week off and reflect and play some songs on my own. For those of you that have been getting distracted by the fact that I'm not playing a ton of songs and instead am making room for my guests, well, I might start doing some other live streams here and there throughout the week in order to showcase my own material. But in the meantime, I've really, really enjoyed the opportunity to catch up with friends that I've not seen in months, online anyway, and share their stories and their songs with you as well. Which brings me to where we are tonight. I'll put my guitar aside for the moment. So, I'm pretty excited about tonight's guest. He was supposed to come on a couple of weeks ago, but we had to cancel for all sorts of weird reasons. He is here tonight to tell us about all things awesome in the present, in the future, and in the past. This is somebody that has been a huge part of my musical development here in New York City as a musician, somebody who allowed me to stand on stage next to him and play his songs for many a year on many an instrument, somebody that gave me a lot of space to figure out what the hell I was doing on stage, and I got to learn some really excellent songcraft just by being up there and playing his material. He has continued to be incredibly active on the New York scene as a singer-songwriter, as a playwright, now as a teacher. I mean, this guy does it all. If there's a thing to create, I don't know if he paints or draws. We'll have to check in with him on that. But if there's a thing that can be created in the world of performing arts, well, theater or music, anyway, the dude's on fire. Simply fantastic stuff. I am beyond excited tonight to welcome on a dear, dear old friend of mine who is fresh off another show tonight, which we'll talk about just in a minute. I'm going to bring on my old friend, if my phone will allow me to tap. Oh no. Come on, phone. Come on, baby. Oh no. So it's like that, huh? We're going to try that one more time. I'm trying to press the button. There we go. I'm happy to bring on. Oh no. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and let you peek behind the curtain. Jim Nabel, if you're out there, there should be a little button on your Facebook that asks if you'd like to go live with me. It's maybe an icon of two little people. Yeah, hey Jim, if you could find the button at the bottom of your screen that asks if you can go live with me, that would be great. My phone, for some reason, is being very difficult and not allowing me to tap the button that invites you onto my show. If you can find that button, that would be fantastic. Let's see. No, it's not. It says you are unable to join. Oh my goodness. Jim, are you talking to us live from your cell phone at the moment? Anticlimactic, everybody, but Jim Nabel, who's now in the comment thread, is going to be our guest tonight in just a couple of minutes. Jim, are you on Instagram on your phone at the moment? If so, there's going to be a button somewhere at the bottom that says ask to join or ask to go live with me. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do that. I'm going to try to ask you to join with me one more time. It says for some reason oh, my friend, I think that's going to be part of the problem. Oh, dude. Is there any chance that you could bounce off this and throw your phone up somewhere, even if it's just sitting on a pillow facing your direction? Because I don't think you're going to be able to join this live feed from your computer. It's just not quite that fancy. Do you think you could sign on your phone in a minute while I entertain these folks with a story or two about our past? If so, I'll see you sign off. There we go. And let's see, go live with you. We're waiting. Doing that now. We're connecting. Jim Nabel, the song. There you are, dude.
I'm
so
here.
happy to see you.
You're there.
Sorry about that glitch.
All right.
Instagram is a fantastic format, but in some ways also a limited format, in that it will only let you use the fidelity on your phone to make you sound as wonderful and look as fantastic as you do.
Chris, your people did not warn me about this in the promo, section. You got to, heads might need to roll here.
Well,
well, luckily
it's a pretty low rent show thus far.
Well, I have my whole mic set up, but that's okay. Because
you sound
it probably
great
sounds
right there.
better on my phone anyway. I mean, these phones are great.
There is a world of
why is
audio
Jay apologizing? What did Jay do?
What did Jay do? I don't know.
I don't know, but he's saying sorry. Because you're the people?
So, there are a lot of people that actually quite enjoy the sound. I mean, aside from me, quite enjoy the sound of an iPhone mic. There's something weird about, the way it compresses things naturally. I don't know.
It's a good little compressor. So you'll tell me how I sound.
You sound,
do I sound okay?
Good so far. I heard your guitar a minute ago, and I
guitar?
hear your
Okay.
voice speaking. Yep.
All right.
To be fair, this is the way I do it every week. There are no fancy microphones here. I'm literally just talking directly into my phone. So I'm guessing that people out there in Instagram land will get the same experience from your singing and playing. Right?
I think that's beautiful.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jim Nabel sharing the screen with me. And like I said in my introduction, Jim and I have a really long musical history together that goes back almost as long as my time in New York City. And I'm so proud that I got to, first of all, play Jim's music. And now, I get to have him on my show to talk about playing his music. So, Jim, I thought since we have made a lot more music directly together than a lot of people that I've had on the show so far, I thought maybe we would actually just spin some yarn and talk a little bit about like some of our experiences playing together, or how we came to be playing music together, and the Randy Bandits and all that good stuff. You want to get us started?
So first of all, I'm in your old apartment, but I've been here for like 15 years.
More yours
so
than mine.
I just had to explain to people, because I was hosting a very different kind of show over on the Voting Rights Project that I'll talk about in a little bit. But I had to explain to them that if they saw this curving ceiling, that it was not an optical illusion, but it's actually bends. And if it at any point collapsed, I was warning them, that's it. That keep going without me. So we're doing well. So we go back in terms of
Wait a minute, pause.
Even before this
Pause
apartment.
for 1 second. You were on another show just before this. Can you talk for a second about what that show was that you were doing before you came on? Up to the minute before you came on.
Yeah, no, it was kind of down to the wire, but it's a little project, actually a really big project in terms of scope, that I got involved with a really good friend of mine named Ari Laura Creeth, who runs Luna Stage in New Jersey, and it's voting rights project, and rights is spelled with a WRITES. And it's activists, playwrights. I seem to have outlasted all the songwriters. Possibly, I just kind of bullied them into evacuating. I don't know what. But I ended up writing a concept album for this kind of larger project. It's About getting the vote out, but also just kind of being aware of your society and how we participate that as people, as artists. So the concept album then turned into like this 8-show weekly like talk show thing where we had people from all walks of life, whether they were part of this project or a little outside of it, come on and talk about their experience as people, as voters, as artists. And I had the excuse to play some songs kind of at the beginning and ending of that, and to work in this album that's called Songs of Suffrage that Jay Buchanan, who's out there, I know, helped me put together. And it's a 9-song album that finally got kind of released in time, before the election actually happened, which is great. And it's out there now on all the Spotify and the YouTube and all that stuff. So that's been happening. And then, we have the album that you and I worked on earlier in the year that we'll probably
we're going to talk all about that.
But that's all the things. So, but we were talking about like how we knew each other, how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
Maybe was that Russ's fault?
It was.
Yeah, probably. All things go back to Russ.
Yeah,
so Russ
pretty much. Russell was living with Chris Cummings in Queens, in Sunnyside, I think. Russ and Chris Cummings were living together. And Chris had grown up with my best friend and roommate, Lucas. And so I knew Chris, and I met Russ at this thing that only Russ could have been involved in Williamsburg in 2000, I'm going to say early 2003. It was a dance performance, and he was doing an improvised score by himself on the Farfisa organ. It was an avant-garde dance thing.
Russ, we know, has a fondness. He has a fondness for Farfisa.
He does. And again, when I think about ways I could have gone to see Russ play, or ways I could have gone to see music in New York in 2003, seeing somebody do an improvised Farfisa score for an experimental dance piece sounded pretty on the money.
That sounds about right for us. It does. Russ is fantastic that way. And he is sort of the glue that brings people together and sticks them. He's like a walking ball of glue in all the best ways.
Yeah. I told him I was looking for gigs and to keep me in mind. And then a couple weeks later, a bass player that you've been working with.
We killed him. No, it was fine.
That's a much better version of the story, so we're going to go with that. So you needed a new bass player, and I was sitting around in that apartment that you're sitting in right now.
Probably, with like Lucas next door. Right, and then like the first gig you played with us was at the Triad Theater, which is suing, currently one of the theaters that are suing Cuomo right now. Did you know that?
Really? I didn't
because
know
there's
that.
theaters that are under 199 seats. There's like 8 of them that have banded together to sue because they can't open while bowling alleys are allowed to currently. So it's kind of a weird concept. I don't know how I feel about that, but the Triad was kind of a magical place for the Randy Bandits, or the band, right? Because I think that was the first gig that you played with us, was at the Triad.
It was.
And that's also where Steven, who is a good friend of mine, college roommate, who is singing with us, met his future wife. It's where Spiff Weekend, who is playing with us, he had a song where he played trumpet and he forgot to bring his mouthpiece, and there happened to be a trumpet mouthpiece backstage. So it was one of those shows that really kind of brought the entire band and all of their progeny together. Like there were children who would not exist were it not for that particular show, the Triad. And you were, you were definitely key to that experience. And then
Thank you.
kept
Now,
on with it.
for those of you that might have never seen me play with the Randy Bandits, while the band changed a lot over time, both in membership and kind of like scope of what we were trying to do, I will say that first Bandits gig pretty well encapsulated a lot of what the Randy Bandits experience was for those couple years. We played 2 sets in a theater space. It was, we were rehearsed and we did know the songs, but you definitely called songs that I had never played before.
Yeah. I had a problem for a while doing that. You guys were very forgiving.
Oh, it was
No, but
awesome.
everybody, because you guys all played multiple instruments and were so talented, I would sometimes, and I have to admit, kind of almost perversely call songs that I knew everybody would have to switch instruments really fast, because it was really entertaining for the audience to watch everybody kind of like panic and have to run to their different instruments, and I entirely cheated because I just stood there with my acoustic guitar, singing. So I was kind of a jerk.
So at the time, like I was playing, playing side person in your band along with Regina and Steven and Russ and Spiff at the time. And while I played in like democratic band type situations all through my youth and up until that point, it was my first time essentially backing somebody up regularly or contributing to like the band arrangements of another songwriter's material. And I know that as a songwriter that's led bands on his own, that's always like the meta process of doing that is something I've always enjoyed analyzing and thinking about. So like back then, when you had what seemed like 1,000 songs written, and you had a band of people at your disposal that were hungry and liked playing different instruments, like, how did you choose to put those set lists together back then?
Very carefully. I think usually it was just fighting with Russ about what songs would go where, but no, it was like, so I'd been performing by myself, me and the guitar for a long time. At then it felt like a long time. Now it feels like a drop in the bucket. And occasionally I try to play with other people, and that sort of worked, sort of didn't. So I had some experience with devising a set, so I knew the kind of ebb and flow of a concert, where I wanted it to go. Start usually with a number that you kind of go back to, as this is the number that you start with, have something at the end that's your closing number, and then, keep the loud songs and the slow songs and the fast songs and the low songs dynamically moving around a lot, so that there's kind of just some interesting things to watch and hear as you're going. Yeah. So I think in terms of sets, for me, it's about building that experience and kind of creating momentum as you're going towards something that feels like some kind of a climax, and then a denouement, kind of like a letting down. So, often our second to last song would be like the big explosion, like Romeo or something. And then the last song would be like, let's get peaceful together and deep. And then we go out on that, depending on the audience. Sometimes the audience was hungry for something a little more, this Sexual Postman was the kind of the go-to. If we had like the raucous audience, like that was the peak we'd hit. And then even that song ends with like a little kind of a drop off. Everybody gets, it's kind of like a fake mellow, but it's still mellow, Yeah.
I'd like to point out that you were able to, in like one minute, use both the terms denouement and Sexual Postman. Yeah. And I feel like that's a pretty accurate assessment of the Bandits, like, vibe. That both of those things, a bunch of people that know what a denouement is, and a bunch of people that like to sing about a Sexual Postman could happen at the same time.
Well, they're related. I think they're related. But, I maybe it's this thing of like, we were and are, and ourselves now, very sincere people. But we also have the sense of being able to step back and look at ourselves and laugh at ourselves, and I think that's kind of important.
Now, I don't want to impose on you too much. I mean, I'm making you play songs tonight because that's why we're here. But do you think maybe, just maybe, one of these first couple of numbers you play for us could maybe, just maybe, be one of those songs that you've like had, like, or we used to play way back in the day?
Like a long ago song?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what to play. I was inspired by your song, not because it's about New York, but somehow I feel like it was related to it in tone, and there's a couple place shout outs. So I don't know. I'm gonna play Made of Stone. Is that cool?
Okay, awesome.
Probably not what you were expecting, but I don't know what.
No, but I love this song. I love this song.
I hope I remember it. I think I wrote it in a hotel or something. Alabama sky, count the falling stars. that are in your eyes, that are in your heart. Whiskey Boulevard, look the other way. Now we're pulled apart. Now we're pulled to stay. Remember me, I'm not alone. I'm made of stone, you see. You'll be remembered too. I remember you if you remember me. When I wrote this tune, I was on the run from what I always do, what I've always done. Everyone I knew was all gathered round, and I looked at you, and you took me down. Remember me, I'm made of stone. I'm not alone, you'll see. You'll be remembered too. I remember you, I already do. You remember me. Da 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 dee. Da 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 dee. And it seems like yesterday I was standing here trying to get away, trying to disappear. Eat your heart out, Mom. I got work to do. There's a place where I must be going to. Remember me, I'm made of stone. I'm not alone, you'll see. You'll be remembered too. I remember you, I already do. You remember me. Thank you.
Yes. I love that song, Jim.
Oh, thanks.
And
thank you.
That's one of those songs that I think the first time I heard you play it, it was just another song that I was like, all right, Jim wrote another song. But it was one of those ones that the more time I spent with it, the more time I spent internalizing and personalizing the lyrics, the kind of deeper and deeper it hit. And I didn't even realize that I knew every word to that song as I was sitting here, which, you know, I'm terrible with lyrics. I really am. And so my ability to remember the lyrics to your song that I've never sung out aloud myself. Yeah.
That would be, I mean, I'm not telling you to cover that song, but you would sound good singing that song, I think. And that's one of the things, I don't know if you'll talk about it, so I'll talk about it, that it was such a pleasure in that band being able to write songs for other people to sing, like you know? Like, I have what I can do with my voice, which is kind of limited. I try to work it the best I can. It's falling apart of me. But, I mean, you have such a fantastic voice that it was such a, you know, a real fun thing to write songs for you to sing, and they'd be like, hey, I know who would sound good on this. Chris would sound good on this. So that was part of that experience of that band, too.
I'll say coming into that band, it blew me away. Like, you guys essentially were, right as Spiff and I got involved, you were like an a cappella group that, you know, had instruments. Like, there was so much vocally going on. And, you know, Russ, once again, goes on to write the first friggin' a cappella musical in Broadway history. So it all comes together. But I remember, like, the first rehearsal that I showed up at, I'd see you guys play one time at Sidewalk before that, and I had heard all sorts of demos and rehearsal recordings, and I rolled up to that rehearsal at Spiff's apartment, and I had my chord charts, and I had my bass, and I was playing the songs, and I was thinking, hey, I can sing a little bit. Maybe I'll bring something to the table. Maybe I can surprise him with my singing. And then I was like, all right, well, that's the lead singer, and he wrote the songs. And oh shit, dude, he can sing like crazy. Steven's voice, just floating and beautiful, natural tenor. And then Regina opens up her mouth, and I was like, holy shit, her voice is like got the force of God behind it. And then Russ starts laying down bass notes below it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit over here and play the bass for a little while. It was so incredible.
Well, so the formation of the Randy Bandits was really inspired by two local bands. One was Pinata Land, who are a band that's sort of like, they're kind of like the instrumentation of the band, but like the band, but they focus on playing historical songs that are based somehow in like, they're based in history, but they're also like a futuristic version of history, often New York history. They have a couple albums that are really fantastic that are definitely available. So their vibe, and then plus this other group that was around for a while called The Voices, spelled like with a Y or something. And that band was kind of had the rootsy instrumentation, but it also was based so much in harmony. And I really loved that sound. And coming from doing a cappella with Steven in college, and then Russ's background, a cappella, and Regina's a cappella singer as well. So when we first started getting together and making music together, the thing that was magical for us was the singing, and that dynamic of, the instruments were there, but they were really kind of to support this harmony experience, which is, kind of what we kept doing for a while. And then we went in some different directions as a band too, where we still had the harmonies, but it became more about the instrumental solos and kind of stretching things out a bit, and which has all been really cool. Lots of phases of Bandits.
There really were lots of phases. Like, and I when I look back on it, I always think like that was a thing that we did during that time. And that was a thing that we did during that time. And it seemed like, we had various, there were some of us that were there most of the time. I mean, you and Russ were there all of the time. But other people kind of came and went over the years. And I feel like even though you had the same core of songs and you're always adding new ones, you were really excellent about letting the sound of the band shift to incorporate the individual interests and skills of those players, which is what I think you have to do, right? And that was always exciting.
Yeah, kind of bend towards what people do naturally and be inspired by them, I think, is my experience musically with that. And again, so lucky to have had that experience as a songwriter, to have like such able and creative musicians. And you guys did so much arranging too. These songs like coming with, usually fairly bare bones. Sometimes I knew what I wanted, but a lot of times I was like, here's a song that goes like this. And then somebody would be like, usually Russ is the first one to be like, hey, let's, slow it down and have this organ intro. And then Spiff would say, let's speed it up and add a banjo. And then,
oh, let's slow it down. Russ slowing things down.
Yeah. Russ slowed it down, Spiff sped it up. That's kept the band in balance for a while.
I do apologize about my wannabe guitar heroics that came to almost dominate some of the arrangements of my last kind of phase as a regular Randy Bandit. I feel like I was so like ensconced in the world of guitar playing that I feel like I treated my last year or two in that band as one big guitar solo. So I'm happy to go back and listen to some things from then and not hear that.
No need to apologize. And I hope, if nothing else, this inspires two people to check out the Randy Bandits who haven't heard before. Because I actually end up listening to it a lot because my kids, especially one of them, listens to the three albums that are now kind of out or creeping out over and over again. And they hold up, I'm happy to say. So that's still worth checking out.
Yeah, as long as we're plugging things, it's cool to know that even though we're talking about this band like it's history, one, it still exists in some form. And two, all of this history exists in the age of the internet, which means that even though it sounds like we're talking about some shit that happened 80 years ago, like people can go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever they listen to music and hear the stuff that we released back then. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, my aspiration really is for the Randy Bands to be like the big star of, the 2020s, people to really go back.
I love it. Yeah. Can you play us another song, Jim?
Probably. Do you have any requests?
No.
Okay.
I want you. Well, let's see. We talked about you just coming off a Songs of Suffrage set or a talk show about that, and you put that album out. And Election Day is next week, so you could play one of those. We've been talking a lot about Bandits history, so you could play another one of those. I'm really down with whatever.
Okay.
We do have a very in the comments. We do have a request for Sexual Postman.
Oh, there usually is one.
And maybe, just maybe, we can make that happen at the end of the show.
Of course. I don't know why I'm singing this, but I'm going to sing it anyway.
Okay, go for it.
Traveling Companion.
Oh!
She's my traveling companion and she's squeezing on my hand. That's not even how it starts. She's my traveling companion and we're traveling down the road. Sometimes I drive, sometimes she drives, sometimes I pump the gas. And we're standing by the canyons and we're standing with our loads. And she feels alive, I feel alive. Sometimes we start to laugh. We go hee ha 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 hee. The sky looks big above us. Ah ha ha hee hee hee. The ground stretched out for miles. She's my traveling companion, traveling companion, traveling companion for a while. She's my traveling companion and she's squeezing on my hand. We wear sunglasses through the passes, traveling with the trucks, and the flags have seized the canyons, and the fear has seized the land. It'll last until it crashes, and till then we'll live on luck. We'll go ha 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 hee hee hee. The sky looks big above us. Ha 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 hee hee hee. The ground stretched out for miles. She's my traveling companion, my traveling companion, traveling companion for a while. Da 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 da. Yeah, da 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 da. This is the solo section. Can you hear the banjo solo in your head? It sounds really good. And then the piano comes in. Boom, blink, boom, back, boom, tack, dig, lick, boom, dack, dig, boom, tack, dig, dack, boom, tack, dig, dack, boom, tack, 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 in the alleyway. Doop, top, doop, top, doop, top, doop. Egga, boom, tack, dig, dack, boom, tack, boom, take it away, Russ. Boom, boom, ding, ding, bam, boom, boom. She's my traveling companion, my traveling companion, traveling companion for a while. She's my traveling companion and we're traveling down the road. Sometimes I drive, sometimes she drives, sometimes I pump the gas. And we're standing with the canyons and we're standing with the load. We feel alive, she feels alive. Sometimes we start to laugh, we start to laugh, we start to laugh, we start to laugh. Ah, 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 ee, ee, looking at her, looking at me, traveling all the way to the Statue of Liberty. Ah, 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 ee, looking at her, looking at me, traveling all the way across this really weird country.
All right, Traveling Companion.
Hey, Traveling Companion. Classic.
Nice. Which is a song that Spiff sang on the first album.
You did, yeah. So I wrote that song after September 11, 2001, when my soon-to-be someday wife and I were driving across the country, going back to New York, back to the ruins of New York, and seeing the world around us. And we stopped in Arches National Park, where it's about the time that I wrote that song. And I never really changed it since I wrote it then. Her comment when I first played it to her was, well, that's coming along. It'll be okay sometime. So it's always been coming along.
Little did she know it would become a staple of Randy Bannett's life.
It would become a hit single in Uzbekistan. Very big.
Real. It's good to know.
No.
I'm glad to hear that. I didn't realize how big we were overseas. Apparently,
Huge.
that's where the reunion tour needs to happen.
I mean, who knows? You get those reports, right? You're on the CD Baby. You get like people in countries who are like, how do people in Bulgaria find out about my music?
Yeah, I guess I never look at them. Maybe I should. Maybe I have a huge fan base in like
There's
one
a
of the
weird
stands.
contingent. Yeah, there are people in like Switzerland who can't get enough of Story of Your Life. It's like every once in a while, it's like this spike of 200 people that discovers it, and then they go away. And yeah,
You know, that was one of the original viral videos. It really was.
yeah.
If you want to really be entertained, guys, go to YouTube and plug in Randy Bandit's Story of Your Life, and you'll find a video of me and Jim, of course, and Steven and Russ
And Spiff.
singing
Yeah.
an a cappella version of Jim's really great song Story of Your Life in a shower.
In our shower.
Well, yes, Jim. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then some other like college a cappella group recreated it in a bathroom. I remember it was like it was a thing.
It was a high school group of like 20 boys called Menergy.
Menergy. Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
we had our version. We were all fully clothed, standing in the shower, but they were there. I don't know about their teacher, but he shot all of them in the locker room, and they're all kind of like not wearing as many clothes, but you know they're high school guys, so they get away with it, and they're all singing the song. But it's a weird world. It's a weird life.
Well, Menergy, if any of you are out there now, thank you for the internet fame that you bestowed upon Jim Nabel so many years ago. Nice. Oh my God.
Huge in Iowa.
Nice. It was Menergy, Mel. It was a really great group. So yeah, Spiff sang that song on the record, and even though, like I said, I was kind of intimidated from a singing standpoint when I came in the first time, I do remember the first time that you did say, hey, maybe you should have a go at this song. I think you were singing it before I did. And you asked me to go learn it. And I took it home and I probably rearranged it a little bit. I don't know if I did that or not.
I know exactly how you rearranged it. I could tell you, but you probably know, right?
No, please.
It was a
'Cause I
vast.
only know it one way now because I've been singing it that way.
It used to not be two verses in a row. It was verse, chorus, and it was like it never quite worked. And you're like, why don't you do two verses before the chorus? I was like, oh, that worked a lot better. The rest of it, I don't know. Maybe you had some other stuff that you did with it, but you discovered a whole other world within this song that made it really your own. So I really hope that means you're going to sing it right now.
Sure.
I
will
just got that
say,
vibe.
To this day, I don't know what some of the lyrics I'm singing about are, and I had no choice but to construct my own like narrative to work as a subtext. And that it's one thing when I'm doing that with like a Mountain Goat song with obscure imagery or a Pavement song, because I never have to sit down with that person, you know. But I was standing next to you on stage or sitting at the piano or whatever, and I felt like I was faking it sometimes, and I guess I still sort of am. This is the song that I got to play the Alicia Keys piano on this song in the studio. Do you remember when we went to Campo to lay down basic tracks?
Yes.
Which, by the way, I just heard Campo get name checked on Questlove Supreme. I forget what episode it was, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Great artists came. David Byrne, Alicia Keys, yeah.
Oh, so I remember they had two pianos there, two baby grand pianos, and they gave us an option. Russ was obviously playing piano 99% of the time. I was playing it on one song, and they asked which piano we wanted to have on the session. And I remember that both Russ and I said, whichever one Alicia Keys used on her record, we want on our record.
So we're talking about the Redbeard record now. People who want to
hear
the Alicia Keys piano on our album. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Plus a Farfisa. There was a Farfisa in there that Russ used, I think. A Hammond B3.
There might be a Hammond. I think the Farfisa is actually his.
Oh,
the
right.
same one that he played at that, you know. I remember recording. I went to anyway. I'm going to sing Sally Ann.
Please.
So this is a song that Jim wrote, and that I used to sing on stage back in the day. And it goes something like this. One too many lovers left her lonely in the night. She was a hiding under covers down against the morning light. But you can't hide when you decide just what is wrong and what is right and what is plain. Yeah. She used to talk to Jesus in the Tallahassee heat. It's like a circus in the deepest hearts of parts where preachers preach. But then she climbed into a tree and stuck her teeth inside the peach of devil's head. Yeah. Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight, Sally Ann? Here comes the spill accordion solo after the first chorus. Before I go right to the next bar, in your deep deserted iris, there's a shadow there that's lit. I slipped into it before you knew it, where you thought I'd never fit. But then you never get yourself into a place where you can't get out of a jam. Out of a jam now. That was the wrong verse. Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight, Sally?
Take to the bridge.
There was Johnny. There was Peter, the one called Prince of Tears. He broke your heart in several pieces, made you feel like you had failed. But when you start to make your art, I'm sure you'll find a way to tell the tale. I'll understand. There's a photo on the circuits. There's an album on the shelf. We're in the cold and hollow purpose of your world turns on itself. To find you standing by a portrait in front of you by someone else. Who do you win? Who do you win now? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight, Sally Ann? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight? Where are you tonight, Sally Ann? Where are you tonight, Sally Ann?
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you for writing that song. The last verse is so good. There's a photo on the circuits. There's an album on the shelf. And this real mean-ass line, we're in the cold and hollow purpose of your world turns or spins? Turns on itself.
Turns on itself, yeah.
Oh, my God. That's a fucking mean line, dude.
That's a line that you write as a 26-year-old, not as a something older.
It's funny because so much of your, like, thinking about so many of your lyrics, and I feel like I've heard a lot of them, they're rarely, like, pointedly mean. I'm not saying that every song you write is like, hey, happy times. But, you know, I don't think you often write mean in the second person. So that line, maybe that spoke to the punk in me back then. I
might have had that thought that you could kind of convey that better than I could.
Oh, the cold and hollow purpose of your world spins on itself.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Woo. Yeah.
Once a Bob Dylan fan, always a Bob Dylan fan for me. But
hey, you are the person that finally turned me around on Bob Dylan.
Have you heard his latest album? It's amazing. Rough and Rowdy Ways?
Oh, I
Are we going to
have.
argue about this now?
I don't think we have to argue about it. I'll admit I've only listened to it twice from end to end. And
I mean, the Murder Most Foul thing, I'm not as big of a fan of. If you don't think of that as the end, think of the Key West as the end. It makes more sense.
okay, it feels a little bit like a Wikipedia entry to me. The album as a whole, and that might just be where I am as a writer right now, that I'm not able to appreciate that. Maybe 3, 4, 10 years from now, I'll be like, oh my God, he got so much out of those things. But when I listened to it the first time, I was like, oh, there are some strong melodies here. There's a lot more than Bob Dylan, more melodic than Bob Dylan's maybe been in a minute.
Well,
And
he did all those Frank Sinatra songs, so that
Right.
opened up some new stuff.
Which, by the way, are like strange. I don't want to say that they're like the most brilliant interpretations of those songs, but there is really something special about those Sinatra albums.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like he found something in his voice, and I also think that he shone a different light on those songs that are so often associated with Frank Sinatra.
I
You
agree.
know?
I mean, I also think that like something he does, which is so great for songwriters, is he shows himself publicly going back to the well. Like whenever he's dried up, he goes to some other source of inspiration, releases a couple albums that are about that are not even his material. And then you can see how that kind of builds into the next phase of what he wants to do. You know, even though it's kind of like, he's not writing Frank Sinatra songs, but you can tell that he's been singing all these songs that Frank Sinatra sang.
Yeah.
On Rough and Rowdy Ways, I think.
I hadn't put that together, but I love that. That makes perfect sense.
We've established, and this I think explains our relationship entirely, is that we like a lot of the same artists intensely, but we also like and dislike different albums of theirs as intensely. Right? Like, I mean, Elvis Costello, we've talked a lot about, like how
Oh man,
Imperial
Jim's
Bedroom.
favorite album was my least.
Yeah, right.
Which other
Blood and
ones?
Chocolate, I like that, but yeah.
What?
Anyway.
I'm fine with Blood and Chocolate, but I know you
Imperial
like
Bedroom's not your thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the tough question and problematic when two middle-aged white guys are just sitting around talking about Bob Dylan. But what is your favorite Dylan album this year?
That I go back and listen to like this year.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say his new album. I keep coming back to it. I also am listening again to the recent bootleg release of the Basement Tapes over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Those
are
really good.
Cool. Yeah, and I see those as related too. I mean, the kind of like the subject matter and the kind of like vibe. It's just the older version of that guy who was like in his late 20s writing those songs, is now writing these songs, and that he lived to do that is kind of a miracle in and of itself. But yeah, that's what I usually go back to. I don't spend as much time listening to the stuff that most inspired me when I was in my 20s, like the big three, like Highway 61 Revisited or Bringing It All Back Home, or even Blonde on Blonde. I love those albums, but I don't need to hear them that much anymore because I internalize them, I guess.
Nice. Do you ever play Bob Dylan songs in public?
I think I've played, Don't Think Twice, It Ain't Me, Babe, kind of those things. I don't do a lot of cover songs. Like every once in a while, I get asked to do one for a wedding, for instance, like yours. When I think I did Burning Down the House, which was really fun to do. And I learned so much when I do cover songs. I wonder why I don't do them more often. And I think it just is about time for me.
Right. Okay.
I have to like pick and choose. Am I writing a song? Am I learning a song? Is it a cover song? Well, and I used to have a lot more time to do more stuff like that. So I had a period where I was trying to teach myself jazz standards, like in my early 20s, and that affected me. But time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no avoiding that one. Yeah, I don't want to put myself in the same category as Bob Dylan necessarily. It feels like a dangerous place to go. But over the last year and a half, I feel like I've spent as much time and energy as a musician working up my interpretation of other songwriters' material then I have my own. And I've been lucky to have like a group to be able to work that out with, you know, online, like in public, not in public for the last 7 months, but
Right.
it was nice to be able to like take songs out for a spin with a group of people that you know, like I felt some connection to. I don't know if it's come back to help my songwriting at all.
Well, I think it comes back to like some kind of indirect influence, which I keep feeling more and more that I often get really inspired by artists, but I know that I'm not consciously trying to write like them. It's just that there's something about what they're doing that I'm going to take it in, and then it'll come out at some point that'll make sense. You know, like I'm a big Nick Cave fan, and I haven't really successfully written any songs that are like Nick Cave songs. We've also talked about Nick Cave. We've had
Well, that's somebody that I admire, and I just wish like I could. I still like.
Yeah. I've been working on you for years, trying to figure out which album is going to get you.
And Lazarus,
I love that. I love that album.
Yeah, that's maybe the closest I've gotten to like continually being able to listen to something. And
That
it's
was
not
my-
that I dislike it. There's something like, I don't know what it is. But speaking of songs, you should play another one because in about 5 or 6 minutes, Instagram is just going to kick us off.
Oh, right. That all ends. Okay.
But here's what we can do. Why don't you play a song that you actually want to play now? And we'll call that the official end of the episode. And then if people are feeling really saucy, you and I can come back Instagram only right after that. And maybe you can do a special sexual postman encore for people.
Oh, that's really teasing it. That's a smart move. That'll
You
get
like
people
that?
to come back. Yeah. So is that
So-
going to work? Like you're going to call me back in the same way?
Yeah. We're gonna go. Live's gonna go dead. It's gonna boot us off as soon as you finish the song, and then like 2 minutes later, I'm gonna go live, and I'll invite you on again.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Let's hear something.
All right. This is something from Blue Reunion, which is an album
Blue
that
Reunion!
I did some recording of earlier this year, and at some point we'll call it released, but people can still find it anyway. The machine is in the steeple, and it is not all right. It's giving power to the people, and it is not all right. The bluebird fell the eagle, but it is not all right. Everything is not all right. When they say he will get better, it is not all right. When they say you can't write letters, it is not all right. When your chains are turned to better, it is not all right. Everything is not all right. It's only rock and roll, but it is not all right. Going for an evening stroll, but it is not all right. The police are on patrol. It's not all right. Everything is not all right. Through the chants and all the candles, it is not all right. Taking all that I can handle, it is not all right. And the Visigoths and Vandals say it's not all right. Everything is not all right. Pledge allegiance to the nation. It's not all right. You can take a paid vacation. It is not all right. Tell the doctors and the patients it's not all right. Everything is not all right. You tell Jesus and Muhammad it is not all right. Tell Moses and the Brahmins it is not all right. Hanging on to Halley's Comet, it is not all right. Everything is not all right. Tell the women and the men it's not all right. One more time again, it's not all right. This is not the end. This is not all right. Everything is not all right unless we make everything all right. But everything is not all right.
Woo! Jim Nabel, ladies and germs. So check it out, everybody. In 59 seconds, Instagram's going to say goodbye. I hope you'll all come back after voting next Tuesday to see my live stream. I'm going to fly solo next week. You can catch it on Instagram, you can catch it on Facebook, or you can catch it over on YouTube at youtube.com/CQ Murphy. I want to thank Jim Nabel for coming on and rehashing and playing songs and all that good stuff. I want to let you guys all know that you should have a great week. Take care of yourselves, take care of the world. Listen to the voices that don't sound like yours, the people that don't look like you. Much love, and I will see you after voting next Tuesday. One more round of applause for Jim Nabel, guys. Yay, Jim Nabel!
Yay, CQ Murphy. Yay.